Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel. MFJJ here with podiumarcher.com on the new HHA NytRx Pro. Now, there's a couple of things in here that make me want to talk about these products. One, if you go back in the history a little bit and look at me bashing particular sites and whatnot, it's me criticizing people for not having a rail adjustment as their first axis adjustment. And there were a couple of companies that I pointed that out. And finally, all those companies now have one, and I'm super excited about it because it's relevant and it's important and it's necessary, and you as a consumer should understand why it's necessary. So as you use a movable sight, your rail needs to be able to move like this independent of where it mounts to your bow, because based off of your tuning, i.e. moving your cams left and right, your string isn't necessarily square with your riser. So that's relevant and important because when you start shooting a long ways away, and when I say a long ways away, I mean like 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 or beyond, you have to have the ability to move that to make it square with the string because that's the path your arrow travels. That's my belief and my philosophy. I've tuned everything going off of that in my life, and I've been able to shoot out to 200 yards accurately. So I might be right. Comment down below on how dumb I am. I always love those. Those are fun. HHA is offering these sights with a single pin head, a 2-pin vertical head, a 3-pin horizontal head, 5-pin head. So there's a little bit of variance in price, but basically the NytRx is $400 and the NytRx Pro is $500. Now HHA has always had, since they went to this geared system, a really smooth moving sight. There were a lot of things I liked about it, but I've always had the stance that if your rail doesn't adjust, I'm not using your sight. And it looks like this does. It looks like they made an attachment here that allows you to move the entire chassis independent of the frame, which is what we are looking for. And Spot Hogg added this last year to the Booney. So the Booney series of sights has this adjustment, and even the Dialed Archery new version also has this. That was the other one that didn't have a way to adjust the rail from the body itself, or the mounting system. So thank you, HHA. Finally. All right, so this looks like it slides right into here. So that just slides up and down, so you can get your starting point wherever you want within the rail adjustment, which is good. So it looks like we have 3 independently adjustable indicator needles. So I'm assuming when you buy a 3-pin, 5-pin, etc., that those are going to be in there so you can move and adjust them because they all independently adjust. And this is your lock mechanism that locks it in place. Personally, ideally, I would like my movable sight to be stiff enough that I can move it with my hands, but if you let go of it, it's not going to move on its own. And because of this, I think you can make it lightly stiffer as you go. Yeah, it feels like you can. So that's also pretty slick. It looks like the windage is on a micro-click adjustment system with a clamp that tightens it up. Pins are individual, just slide adjustment. It's got a rheostat here. I'll have to try this. I don't know if you can adjust the head separate from the body. If it's machined right, it probably doesn't matter, but yes, you can. So you have all your adjustments in here. You can set the rail what you want, and then you can level it up to the scope head in case there's a small variance in your bubble in your scope head to make sure that that is level to that. This is kind of like what Black Gold did originally for their rail adjustment and their head adjustment for third axis, and everyone's kind of copied it. The nice part about it is you could technically finitely turn it and sight it in. So you could go out to a downhill target at like 50 yards and slightly creep it over until you hit in the middle of the target. So rather than trying to use tools to set your level and say, okay, my third axis is just money, you can actually shoot it in. And more sites have gone to this type of a system where it's actually pretty easy to do. All right, so that feels exactly the same. So, and it does look like when they do the fixed 2-pin version like we have here, that these indicators are predetermined for gap, which is nice because that's not going to change because those pins don't change. And then you can adjust. Yeah, you can adjust. There's a slot in here for moving the indicator needles a little bit. You definitely want to have that feature because, and I think this one does it too. Yep. So if you're off by just a little bit, you can tweak your indicator needle and not have to try to move the whole sight tape underneath it. The leveling systems are identical. Rail system's identical. Third axis is identical. Click windage is identical. So my assumption is this feature right here, which we'll figure out how that comes off. The ability to take a sight tape, keep it, pull it off, slide it on, pull the other one off, so you can have multiple sight tape rings for different velocities of arrows or things like that. That's probably the Pro feature would be my guess. So I wonder how I get that off. because it's going to happen. Yeah, pops right off, so you can have multiple indicatorable sight tapes. It does look like the extra one they give you doesn't come with a set screw, so you'll have to take it out of this one, put it on that one. So you should be able to freely adjust where your sight tape starts and finishes from, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you can see the gap in there and how wide it is, but you can only move it up and down a little bit. So if it shifted a lot on you for one reason or another, this would allow you infinite adjustment of that and the ability to have multiple different sight tapes to, if you're shooting 3D and you've got a 300 grain arrow for shooting 3D and you've got a 450 grain hunting arrow, swap them back and forth, easy peasy. You know, that's an option and something that's nice to have. Typically those things do not change their left to right. So, but other than that, it looks like it's the same sight. Comment down below on whether or not